Alright, folks, it's really hard to think of words because I'm feeling a bit lightheaded right now that I don't drink. I guess as far as the last episode, I may have gotten a little bit overboard, but I basically went on a 45-minute rant explaining why the last episode just sucks. But fortunately, we're going to be looking at an episode tonight that's at least a little more tolerable, even if it does have its problems. I'm just kind of like listless at the moment, but this is the only thing I want to do to pass the time. So with all that, let's get right into Spice Up Your Life. So this episode starts off in Twilight's castle, where basically Twilight talks about the map. Oh yeah, that was the thing.
You've all probably noticed it's been quite some time since the map has sent us on a mission of friendship.
Quite some time? Well, let's see. I would say the last time the map was even mentioned was basically the Season 5 finale, and as far as like a friendship journey, that was like episode 23 with the Hookfields and the McCulls. So that would be, hold on, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 26, 25, 24, like 16 episodes ago. So quite some time is an understatement, Twilight.
Yeah, ever since Starling missed it, if you go back in time and try to change history. Yes, since then.
But you've forgiven her since then, right, you two? Because you've taken her under your wing, and she's been slowly learning lessons since then, so I think that'd be the case.
But as part of her studies, Starlight's been assisting me, and together we think we've come up with a spell that will get it working again.
Wait, so it wasn't working before? I may have not paid attention to that, but considering how they didn't even bother to mention it or bring any kind of mention of the map after the start of Season 6, it kind of makes you wonder why they decide to bring it up now. So basically, Twilight and Starlight used a spell to open...
Hey, Twilight, you're not supposed to that. No, you ain't with that. You're not saying it. No, wait with that. Twilight, yeah, that's it. No, Twilight, me, and Rarity. I hope it's a faraway place that Tony has gone before.
And I take it, given of some of the glitches that we've seen, and from what Pinkie was spouting, I can take it that the map still has some glitches to sort out. But yes, as you can plainly see, this is going to be a Pinkie Rarity episode, which kind of makes you wonder how many episodes we've had around those two since then. I mean, granted, we had the gift for Mod Pie, and that was like 9 episodes ago, so I think we could have waited a bit longer than that. But to make a long story short, they basically decide to go into Canterlot, and Rarity gets a bit gushy over it. So basically, after the credits, they travel to Canterlot to obviously try to find the friendship problem.
Mary, you don't find the friendship problem, just find you.
Or in Twilight's case, back in Lesson 0, you can make the friendship problem.
You don't know, and eventually, your friendship problem is right between the eyes. Well,
Hit him right.
team effort.
Hit him right between the eyes.
You feel we should start.
Nice. But before they can do that, Pinkie starts to feel hungry, and they basically go to some of the restaurants in the area.
The absolute best place for fine dining in all of Equestria.
Of which they all look the same.
Ooh, so many choices. Where should we go? What? That one? That one? Any establishments that have this? 3-hook rating. Why, Zesty Gourmand, the queen of cuisine. When it comes to food, she is the ultimate authority in Canterlot, and that's all Equestria.
Rarity, don't you think that Celestia and Luna have higher authority than some food critic?
She judges a restaurant on cuisine, decor, and presentation. Without her approval, a restaurant simply cannot survive.
Are you sure about that? I mean, this isn't Top Chef. I mean, what the hell does she know? And by the way, we don't even see Zesty until like almost a little over halfway through the episode. So, it kind of makes you wonder why. Then, I guess that this continues to prove my point that Canterlot has some of the most stuck-up characters in the entire series, since they're basically just a herd of sheep.
What's so important?
And to make a long story short, since it's literally the same restaurant, the food is basically absolute garbage, because it's literally all the same thing.
Very well.
So Pinkie does get a scent and goes to a restaurant that's actually different, thank God, and Rarity is hesitant about it.
It looks like it hasn't even been rated.
Rarity, who gives a shit? And we're going to get more into a bit of that later.
Thank goodness. Are we sure they're open? It smells open. Oh, are you here for lunch? Yes, indeed. I'm Saffron Masala, the chef here at the Tasty Treat.
So the restaurant is called the Tasty Treat, and of course we meet Sapphire Saran, or in this case, as some people refer to, Esmeralda Pony from Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame.
The most exotic cuisine in Canterlot. Would you like to hear about it better? We're actually in a bit of a hurry. We have a great oatcake. We'll take one. And a glass sandwich that has been marinated overnight in a mustard Dijon dressing. I'll say no to that. And for you? Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
I believe code for my fine is code for I don't feel comfortable talking to you. We're going to get more into that later, but let's just say that Rarity, you're really dropping the ball on this episode. So considering what you went through sometime last season that I sort of went on a mega rant about. So I think you might want to watch your mouth.
No rating?
No rating, but nobody gives a shit. It's seriously, Rarity, who died and made you Queen Authority in charge of this place?
Hiya! What's your name? Are you chef here too?
My daughter cooks. I host.
Then why are you stacking chairs?
Without customers, I have no pony to host for. So I stack.
Father, stop it! Don't close up the restaurant around again.
What does it matter? When they leave, no pony else will be coming in.
Well, your attitude isn't going to bring anyone in. Can't you at least pretend to be positive? So good!
So, as it turns out, that despite the father and daughter arguing with each other, which, again, would normally drive away customers, Pinkie dives right into the food and that it's delicious.
Maybe if you would listen to my ideas for once.
Oh, yes! I did not move halfway across Equestria for my daughter that I never listened to.
Mary, I think that friendship problem just collapsed right between the eyes. You too? Oh, I don't know, darling. The food is excellent, but I'm not sure there's much you and I can do to help them.
I was, honestly, it's really hard to talk about, you know, the comments that Rarity makes because I'm just going to come out and say it. It just basically comes off as kind of racist. I'm just saying, but that's just kind of how it is. But yeah, basically, with the food, with the restaurant having no stars, and basically Saffron arguing with her father, this is basically the friendship problem, and so they now have to help them out, basically to drive, basically help promote the Tasty Treat.
Take your restaurant. I can get thirsty for Mom's cheese. And I can have this liquid pony.
And how do you intend to do such a thing?
Just leave it to us.
I like how Saffron Han is happy about this, but her father, yeah, I know he has a name, but I'm not very good at names, and it's been a while since I've seen this episode. It's just like, I doubt it. And it goes to show, because after the commercial break, he starts packing things up.
Will you please stop packing things?
When the lovely pony comes back and says she couldn't convince Zesty Gourmand to come visit us, we will need to pack all this up. I'm just getting a head start.
I gotta admit, I really do like that reaction. Honestly, I really do like the day. She just basically has a cynical, realistic look about it. Like, basically, Saffron is an optimist, and her father is basically a realist.
Realists don't know Gary. I love it! It took all of my charm and cajolling just as one able to convince Bessie Gourmand to come and try the food.
What is the catch?
Yeah, like I said, the father is a total realist. He's like, oh yeah, that's good and all, but what's the catch here? Like, I know this ain't easy, so come on, sister, what's the catch?
Yes. Well, there is a bit of a challenge. The only time she can make herself available is tonight.
Which kind of makes you wonder how exactly is she able to, basically what makes her basically stand out as far as just basically what I'm trying to say is, what exactly does she have to put in her schedule to make herself, available? Like, seriously.
Oh, yeah, right.
What is it? Bessie raised the restaurant on cuisine, decor, and presentation. And she has very specific taste. If she's coming tonight, there is quite a bit of work that needs to get done.
Well, let's keep going.
Wait! Don't tweak here and out there. Some slight modifications to the menu. We just need the place to feel more cosmopolitan. Father, as the Rarity went to all of this trouble for us, can we at least try? Why don't I stay behind with coriander to get it?
I will admit, what I do like about this episode is that it mixes, when basically listening to the background music, it mixes in a lot of Bollywood style of music, which I really appreciate, and it really is nice to listen to. Even some of the subtle background music has strings of sitars playing. And so I definitely really like that a lot. And let's see, this is where we get to the point where basically the episode just kind of smacks itself around the face, where Rarity decides to stay behind to fix the restaurant while Pinkie tries to advertise it.
Restaurant ready for Zestie's arrival. You and Saffron can try and drum up some business. One pack restaurant coming right up.
Honestly, this is probably one of the biggest problems with the episode is that, well, it's kind of predictable, so you basically kind of know where this is going to lead. You basically kind of know where this is going to lead, where, it's going to fall apart.
Coriander, I understand your trepidation, but I promise you, we will get those hooks by making this place feel just like all of the other restaurants on Restaurant Row.
And this is the biggest problem with Rarity. She's a complete and total hypocrite. Oh dear God, where do I begin? So first of all, considering way back in Season 5, well, I wouldn't say way back, because Season 5 was just one season ago, but, when Sassy was taking over her boutique, she wanted to do something original, but Sassy didn't want her to be that. Well, it's almost like the writers act like that episode never happened, and Rarity just wants everything to be the same thing. And that's another problem. She basically pulls a whole character 180 where she forgot her true origins and just thinks about everything to be the same. Basically living up to Canterlot standards and believes that everything is her way and that it has to be that way. That's pretty much the equivalent of basically saying that there's... Basically, that's the equivalent of basically saying, there's a subway on every single block here in New London, and the only other restaurant in town is like, say, okay, it's a poor example, but you get my point, right? Basically making every restaurant the same is pretty much the equivalent of trying to get Subway to be like McDonald's if it was basically the only restaurant in New London. It comes off as completely hypocritical. And if you basically try to make a restaurant and it's literally the only restaurant in town, the food may be good, but depending on the restaurant, but if it's the same restaurant everywhere in town, you get sick of it. This is the point where Rarity just puts her foot in her mouth, and it's really bad. It's really just, blech.
I hope my father doesn't drive Rarity crazy.
I'd say it's going to be the other way around.
It'll be fine. Rarity's going to make sure that the Tasty Tree's the most unique and beautiful restaurant in Canterlot.
Given what she just said, that's not going to happen.
Not like all those yucky places on Restaurant Row.
But that's what she does. Now, like I said, I'm fast-forwarding because, you know, of my problems with copyright and stuff in terms of Hasbro and their music. Now, I do like the song considering it mixes a lot of Bollywood-style music, and the instrumentals are good, and the lyrics are nice. My only criticism is that the episode reuses animation like 3 times. Like, basically, the song reuses its animation cycle like 3 times throughout the song, so that basically boggles it down. But when you're allowed to listen to it, it's actually really good. Unfortunately, though, that's not really the key.
But so far, the food in all these hoity-toity places tastes like some pony cooked up nothing with a side of nothing.
Well, please, come try the Tasty Treat.
And Rarity screws it up.
Rarity, what did you do?
Welcome to the Tasty Treat. You can eat here if you want, or not. Who cares?
Like I said, the dad's the realist, and he's like, Rarity just screwed this up. My business is over. Thanks a lot.
I know. Isn't it perfect? Bestie is sure to love it.
Yeah, about that, that's code for... Yeah, that's basically what it boils down to. It really is painful watching Rarity in this episode. It honestly is. I mean, it's not as bad as a certain pony from the previous episode I reviewed, but that's besides the point.
I thought we were trying to make this the most unique and beautiful restaurant in Canterlot, not make it exactly like every other restaurant. We won't help our friends by getting them 3 homes. That will only happen if it is like every other restaurant.
Well, that is a stupid way of looking at it.
My database says, you's a bitch.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up.
Father, what is this? Not that dirty
This is what we must do if we want to succeed here.
This isn't what I wanted. I wanted Canterlot to like us for us. Rarity, how could you ruin the restaurant? We helped save the restaurant. Now.
No, you didn't. You really, honestly didn't.
And you can shut the fuck up and mind your own business.
That honestly sums it up in a nutshell.
Where are the other guests? How many other ponies are coming? 2. Just 2? I thought you said you could pack a place with ponies no matter what.
Well, maybe it seems... Well, it seems that Rarity is in her simple mindset of Canterlot because the citizens in Canterlot are nothing but sheep. And they don't care about anything that's different because they're all stuck up and self-centered assholes. Like, seriously, did I just walk into the Twilight Zone, or is this a universe where Stephen King just took over the writing staff where everybody in Canterlot is an asshole?
You said you would make the restaurant better. All you had to do was didn't know what we were talking about.
And I think Pinkie just summed it all up in a nutshell. So yeah, remember Zesty Gourmage, as I mentioned earlier? Well, let's see. As far as design goes, I don't know. It just looks a little plain for me as far as for design goes.
Welcome to the tasty treat. What can I get you this evening?
I hardly think it matters, but by all means, try your best to impress.
So yeah, so basically this is the stable food critic who, for whatever reason, has all the power in the frickin' land.
Well, we'll both try the special this evening. Maybe with a little kick to it, eh? Yeah, we've been craving some food with actual taste.
Chocolate masala! What are you doing?
I'm trying to save on the station. I didn't. At least a little bit of flavor. No. That's not what Bessie wants.
Who gives a shit what one person wants? So, as Mondo said earlier, Rarity,
You can shut the fuck up and mind your own business.
Zephyr doesn't want flavor. That's insane.
yeah, this is what I was talking about before. Like, basically, if a food critic wants every restaurant in the world, like, again, like, if they want every Subway to be like McDonald's, it's basically going to be the same flavor, and you're going to get sick of it. So, yeah, you basically, just to save you the misery, this episode basically gets to the prediction, because Rarity is a complete and total screw-up in this episode, and I'm honestly starting to hate her more and more for this. God, I honestly thought that I was going to like something about this episode. Well, actually, there's a few things I like about this episode, but I didn't honestly think that there were about 3 characters in the span of 3 reviews that I considered to hate because the writing staff had no idea what they were doing. I'm sorry, I need a little bit of clarification here. Let's rewind this for a second. I need to hear what Rarity just said. I honestly really need to hear this again. I'm taking my time with this because this is a lot to take in. Let's be perfectly honest here. Because I'm just floored by this. How Rarity says that Pinkie's going to ruin the restaurant when really... I'm just like... Okay, let's just hear that line again, because I'm just...
I'm thinking about that! No! Bessie will hate it! You are going to ruin it for them!
What did you just say? To think you take your false accusation so far, I don't know whether to laugh or spit!
It really is amazing how almost all credibility that Rarity has been through has just been flushed down the toilet in just one episode. Like, it amazes me. So, just to save you the suffering from this, basically Rarity screws it up again, and Zesty gets mad and doesn't bother.
Opinions at the restaurant. Substandard, laughable service. And I would think even you could recognize that the fool here is trying desperately, well, desperately failing. obvious case that uncultured ponies like those two can register.
Hey!
But it takes a true culinary artist to create a subtle taste.
If by subtle taste, basically, you mean stuff that tastes like tofu that's mixed on top with with more tofu on top of it. So, I basically gotta ask and borrow Celeste one more time. I really need to wonder about this.
Hero. But are we sure he was really pointing the finger at Hero? What the hell are you talking about? I'll burn you alive!
Yeah, I think that's honestly what I want to do with this character right about now. Okay, so just to save you the misery, basically, Rarity does apologize, and Saffron does bring out some nice food to basically try to share their woes, and that's when she and her father realize why they like cooking in the first place.
My, it's truly delightful.
Pinkie's just been talking about how great the food is. We're about 15 minutes into the episode, Rarity, and you just now realize the food is good?
And if they said, use a bitch.
This is the best thing you've made so far. And I thought this was before was the best. That's all I've ever wanted to do, Father. Make food for the ponies of Canterlot, like the food we made together when I was younger.
It has been so long since we cooked together. Remember how you used to hide the ingredients you did not like?
No, what? Who cares? Stuffy unicorn makes the food here. It's exquisite.
Are you talking about Zesty or yourself?
That's true. But you don't need 3 city cooks in your window to prove it.
It's almost like the writers, at this point in the episode, someone in the writing staff just now realized, oh wait, I think this was stupid of Rarity to screw this up. Let's try to redeem her as much as possible, even though she caused pretty much every single problem that happened here.
That's true. You just need ponies in here to give it a chance. Ponies that will tell every pony else in Canterlot that the tasty treat is the best food in the city. That's true, times 3. But without Zesty's approval, no pony will even try our food. Oh, yes, they will. Pinkie, we are the perfect team for this. Just doing the wrong job.
No shit, Sherlock.
Bring the crowd. You stay here and make sure this place is every bit as unique and rustic as it was the moment we walked in.
And what about us?
You two, you are going to cook. Make whatever you want and make a lot of it. I intend to bring a crowd.
So as you know where this is going to lead, basically Pinkie gets everything back in order. Rarity gets all the guests to come, and
Are you ready for the Grand Prix reopening? Before we open, my father and I just wanted to say thank you for all of your help. We've both been so stressed about the restaurant succeeding that we forgot what it was we loved about it in the first place.
Cooking is something we used to love to do together. No matter what happens next, thank you for reminding us of that.
Oh, you guys! Now come on! We've got a party in row!
So basically we get so the guests come in, and this part of the episode basically gets a lot of references of basically, you know, ponies in the forms of famous cooks. Honestly, me personally, I really don't know any famous cooks. The only one that I recognize out in the crowd is basically Gordon Ramsay.
Welcome to the tasty treat. Make yourself comfortable.
And guess who the hell decides to come back?
What's this? What is every pony doing here? This place has no hooves!
Hooves.
Oh, Judge. And you can shut the fuck up and mind your own business.
Yeah.
It is so in keeping with the level of cuisine that I have set for Canterlot.
On whose authority?
No pony told you this place was acceptable. Rarity and her friends said it was good? They told us. They told you? And who are they to tell you anything? Rarity can tell you what hats to wear with which skirts. Her friends can tell you how to maintain a tragic look for a pretty maid.
The old bitch! Listen to you son of a bitch.
They can't tell you what food you can eat.
Okay, so as you can probably tell, this episode basically talks about what critics say, basically, as Rarity is about to point out.
No, we can't. And neither can you. No pony has the right to tell these ponies what to think. You have very specific and very strange, yes, very strange opinions about food. And that's your right. But just because you like your food a certain way, there is no reason to tell these ponies that they need to do the same.
Rarity is right. I, for one, think the food here is delicious. I own the Smoked Ozone Restaurant Row. I hate the food we make. From now on, it's all smoked, basted, and grilled. This food is an inspiration.
So yeah, we get motivational ponies to make food with actual taste and not whatever Zesty wants them to make.
Ignoring a unique and fresh establishment such as this could do serious damage to your social standing.
Anime says, use a bitch.
Honestly, I know I've been using the same jokes throughout this review, but honestly, that's really all I've been thinking about when watching this episode again. And so yeah, as basically, this episode basically points out, everybody's entitled to their own different opinion, but you can't force them down on everyone's throats, which, admittedly, I'm guilty of this, considering what I said at the end of the last review, but it just kind of baffles me in these. Basically, as Linkara pointed out in his One More Day review, the phrase "everyone's a critic" is kind of a joke used to pass off criticism, but it really is true. Everybody is a critic. It's not weighed out by one person everybody has a specific demand. Everybody has their own opinion on certain things. Like, for example, everybody in the Brony community seems to hate episodes like One Bad Apple or Rainbow Falls. Well, I think that they're relatively good episodes. While all the opposite is true, where people like episodes like Magic Duel and Mod Pie, well, I think that the episodes are kind of overrated. And it's sort of the same thing about TV shows and video games in terms of characters. Like with Danganronpa, for example. Almost everybody seems to not like Mondo in the first game, while I personally think he's one of the best characters in the first game. And some people think that Nagito is the greatest character in this whole series, as well as Danganronpa 2, while I hate him with a burning passion and thinks he's overrated. See, that's the thing. Everybody is free to disagree with their own opinions. I know that I call out certain reviewers from time to time in my past reviews, but the reason why I do that is because I sort of feel like that these reviewers, when they review a specific episode, they just don't seem to get it of what the episode is trying to do or what the episode fails to do. But basically, getting back to the point, the moral is that not one person is allowed to have to just basically follow whatever everyone else feels. Okay? Like, for example, with this episode, which we're going to get to in this episode. As the Nostalgia Critic pointed out, you have such a variety of opinions you can think about certain episodes, it sort of makes you think like you're a unique human being. So let's just get to the happy ending, because basically because of this, everybody cheers that Zesty loses her status, because I'm sure that word got out to Celestia and Luna, and they just stripped her of her food critic title. And thus they complete their friendship task, and that was to spice up your life. And after watching this episode again, I honestly have mixed feelings about this episode. I mean, part of me liked the episode how it mixed a lot of Bollywood style music, and basically the dynamic of Pinkie and Rarity was decent. But I do really like Saffron and her father, basically showing of an optimist and a realist side of point of view, as well as basically showing a good relationship that they have with each other and what they realize, what they really want. That being said, I can't forgive Rarity for her behavior for this episode, considering that she caused most of the problems by the second act of the episode, and basically screwing everything up. But that also basically comes down to another problem, is that the episode becomes predictable. Like, as soon as you get to the point, like, after you get past, like, the second commercial break and they go, and Rarity and Pinkie go in to help, you basically break down what's going to happen, and the episode basically gives you what it wants. The episode does have a nice song, and it really is catchy, especially with, again, mixing with the Bollywood instruments. It doesn't really help that the animators decide to recycle a use of animation 3 times throughout the song, and the moral is honestly really, really good. But that being said, there's just a lot of things that just bog it down for me, and it's just kind of a little bit iffy to sit through. That being said, I guess after closer evaluation, it does do a better job with handling the moral better than the last 2 episodes that I had to sit through. So, as far as a whole, I think Spice Up Your Life is a C+. Like C+ leaning towards a B-, where I think the episode is average. And going off of what this moral says, you're free to disagree with me. Like, you can think like Zesty Gourmel and think that the episode sucks. You can be jump for joy of showing more diversity in Equestria and think this episode is awesome. Like I said, and what the Nostalgia Critic said when he reviewed the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, you have such a variety of different opinions, it's almost like it can make you a unique human being. And I think, honestly, as far as the moral goes, this episode really does a well job of doing that. It's just there's a lot of predictability and nitpickiness you gotta go through to get to there. So as a whole, I think Spice Up Your Life is a B-. So I guess despite some difficulties, I definitely do think that this episode was better than the last 2 episodes I reviewed. Alright, so we got one more episode to look at. Yeah, we got like one more episode to look at, and I think we'll probably be done with the first half of Season 6. And next time we'll be looking at Stranger Than Fan Fiction. See you guys next time. Bye.